Welcome to the K20 Center's Zoom into Your Career video series. These online career expos give students a way to explore many interesting careers and learn about their career options from volunteer professionals. Beth Golnick is a nurse manager of an assisted living facility. She is certified as an assisted living director. Her facility takes care of people who are no longer safe living at home due to issues with dementia, risk for falls, and inadequate nutrition.
We're going to go ahead and get started. Today we have our presenter, Beth Golnick, with us. Beth is a manager at an assisted living facility. Her actual title is nurse manager, and she is a nurse with a certificate in with a certification as an assisted living director. So Beth, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and you can go ahead and start sharing your screen and begin your presentation.
Okay, am I good?
Yes, and you can just take it away.
All right, hi guys. I can't see you, but I know you're there. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about different types of nursing. I know most people know or think they know what a nurse does, and they know about them in hospitals and in doctors' offices. But there are a lot of different positions that you can get in the nursing field. And so I'm going to talk about a few of those other opportunities. I started out actually when I was very young. I started out in social work. I've always liked working with the older population. I don't know if it's because I just loved being with my grandparents or had great grandparents, but I've just always felt really comfortable and enjoyed their company. So when I started out, I was actually working with the Meals on Wheels program, which I'm sure some of you may have heard about. And that's where we take meals to people who cannot get out of their home, have a hard time getting to the grocery store and that type of thing. And most of them are elderly. They're not driving anymore and they need some assistance. I went from doing that to going to college, and I got my degree in journalism. So I went a totally different direction. But I also enjoyed that type of thing because I like writing. I like to make sure everybody's using the right there. I like to make sure that it's just one of my pet peeves, and I've just always enjoyed that field. So I went into publishing. After I did that for about 10 years, I decided I really missed working with people. And so I decided I was going to go into nursing. And that is just to give you an idea of, and let you know that even if you don't know what you want to do initially, you can always change, and you'll always use those experiences that you have in any job that you've had to use in any further job down the road. So now I'm in nursing. I worked for a doctor's office for a little bit. I really did not enjoy that because basically I was only doing vitals for people who came in, the patients who came in, and I didn't get a lot of experience other than that. So I decided I went into work at a nursing home. And after that, I decided I'd try home care. After that, I came back to assisted living, and we'll go into more of that in a little bit. But first, we go ahead and there we go. Long-term care. That was my first real experience in nursing, and I really, really enjoyed that, and I really learned a lot. That long-term care is something that you guys would think of more as a nursing home. People in nursing homes need assistance with medications. They need assistance. They may be getting IV antibiotics. They usually have a lot of wound care that needs to be done. And I really enjoyed that and learned a whole lot about how to treat wounds. And then also with any job that a nurse has, you get to take vitals, which is also something that I always thought was really cool. Nice to use a stethoscope, nice to listen to that heart and the bowel sounds, and there's all kinds of cool things that you really get to do. So one thing that everybody has to do in nursing is you have to chart, you have to document everything that happens so that the next shift knows what's going on with those patients. And we have that continuity of care. And that's a big word in nursing. You just have to have that continuity of care to make sure that that patient is getting cared for the way they need to be cared for. Long-term care, I did that for a long time. I really, really learned a lot and I enjoyed it, but I always wanted to try home care. I always thought it would be really cool to drive to people's homes and see them in their homes. And that kind of goes back to my Meals on Wheels days, because all of those residents were also taken care of in their homes. What I enjoyed most about that was actually getting to know the people. The hard part about that, and I don't think I didn't mention it earlier, but I live in Michigan. So we have a lot of snow days. We have a lot of tough driving conditions. And that doesn't always work well when you're driving a little car and you're in the middle of a snowstorm. And I did get stuck a couple times. That kind of changed my mind about home care. Not that I didn't enjoy the experience, but I did not like being stuck out there and having to wait for a tow truck to get me out of the snowbank. So, but again, you're doing the charting, you're doing, oops, I didn't go back to my home care screen. Do the same thing. You do the medication delivery, you do wound care, which really helped me with that experience from my long-term care, and vitals, of course. But while I was doing home care, I had to draw blood. And that has never been my favorite, just because I didn't have a lot of experience with it. So doing it in the home, with the patient in the home, it was just one of those things, and something that you should always remember, as no matter how old you get, you're always gonna have to ask for help. You're always gonna need somebody to explain to you what to do. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it, you let your supervisor know, or you let somebody know that you need more training. And that's what happened there. I went back to the lab and I learned to draw blood better. And then I had a day where I had to draw blood and I got stuck in the snow. That was the day I decided, you know what? I think I want to go work in a different type of field, back with the older residents, but also in a home environment. That took me into assisted living. And assisted living is a whole different experience, but it's an amazing experience. Some of you may have some grandparents who are in assisted living facility. It's different from a nursing home because we don't provide skilled nursing. So no IVs, no major wound care, that type of thing. Excuse me. What we do is we deliver their medications. We will do wound care, but nothing major. But it's a place for people to come into when they're getting a little bit older and they need a little bit more help. They just don't feel comfortable living at home anymore. So when they come into us, we're the environment where they move in, and this is the place where they're going to age in place. They're going to live their life out here at the assisted living facility. So we take care of them from the time they move in until we assess them every day for any changes, and they're going to decline because that's life, and that's what happens. So we watch for those declines. We watch to see, oh, they're walking fine, to, well, they need to start using a walker because they're falling and stumbling, or, they just can't stand on their own. We're going to a wheelchair now. We make sure that they get the 3 meals a day. We make sure they, have everything that they possibly need. And we take their vitals and just look after them, and make sure that we provide anything that they need on a daily basis as their condition changes. So it really affected our residents with the COVID situation, mainly because we are one of those facilities that you probably heard about. We had to close down. We had the lockdown. The residents couldn't see their family members. They could visit through the windows, but as you probably saw in the news, that's just really not, it just doesn't work. It's not the same. So they were quarantined, and they didn't have that family connection. There was a lot of depression. And one of the things that we see in long-term care, a lot of people sometimes will have memory loss, dementia, Alzheimer's. I'm sure you've probably heard of that too, where the resident just, they get more and more and more and more confused. And that's another thing we assess, and we look to see what kind of needs they have as they decline in that area. And so there was a lot more confusion with the COVID situation, with those residents who are already a little confused with some memory loss. So we had exciting news this week because Monday, we got to open our doors. We had our COVID vaccines. First dose was in January. The second dose was last week. And 5 days after that second dose, we were allowed to open our doors. So we've had some tears, happy tears, family members coming in and actually getting to hug, getting to hold hands, and just being in their residence rooms. It's just been an amazing week. So it's just been a whole lot of fun for everybody involved. So we even had some resident son come in and play the piano, and everybody was just guessing that song. And so it was just, it's just been a fun few days. There's a lot more I could talk about, but I'll talk a little bit about the salary range. If you're a nurse, usually at this point, you need to be more than just a registered nurse. You need to have a bachelor's of science in nursing. No hospital is going to hire you unless you have a bachelor's in science. So if that's something you're thinking of doing, make sure you take some science classes in high school. Go that direction. It's really, math is a good thing to focus on, because you have to mix meds. You have to be able to say, okay, if this person needs 2.5 milligram capsules, what does that equal out to? Which is 1 milligram, by the way. Salary range is whatever you want it to be. It is a very good salary, no matter what. If you go into nursing, it is a very good salary. You can specialize in different areas of nursing. Some people will specialize, say, in cardiac nursing, which is about the heart. It's a very specific area. And if you specialize in that area, you're going to add to that salary. And that's something you can do after you finish school and you decide, I want to make some more money. I'm going to go back to school, which is something that I've always loved doing, which is why at 48 years old, I went back to school and became a nurse. So yes, I was 48. So that's pretty much what I have for you guys. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, I'm open to anything. So
we did have a couple of questions come in while you were talking. If you have any questions, feel free to either drop them in the chat to me, or write them down, let your teacher know. You can come up to the camera and ask the questions as well. But feel free to drop them in the chat or go ahead and walk up to the camera. But one of our questions we had was, you mentioned that you got a degree early on in journalism. How did that degree help you with nursing? Did it help you? And if it did, how so?
I learned a lot about communicating. A lot about nursing is documenting and charting, being able to put a noun and a verb together and make a complete sentence and make it very understandable. And you can never go wrong learning how to write better. Spelling's always important. I've mentioned that already, right? But also, just to let you know, it showed me when I got the degree in journalism and I went into publishing, it showed me that it always interested me. I always thought I would enjoy it, but it wasn't my favorite thing. And I think that's something that that everybody should remember too. You're going to have all kinds of experiences in school and in education. My biggest, I think, my best advice, I don't know if your parents would agree or if everybody would agree, but I wish that once I had started school, I did not start in journalism. I was kind of all over the board. I was in social work. I liked business. I liked the writing. I always wanted to be a vet. I thought about law. And I never focused on one thing. So it took me a long time to really get my bachelor's. If I had any advice to give you, it would be stick with one thing, finish it up, because your whole life, and I'm a perfect example, your whole life you're going to be changing your mind. Not necessarily changing your mind, but getting more focused on what you enjoy, what you really like, and what really interests you. So a bachelor's in anything is going to be great. It's just going to be one of those building blocks, and then you can go back and you can add to it. But yeah, the journalism, I think mainly that besides the communication, the job is what told me and pushed me in the direction that I really wanted to be in. So
Thank you so much. We had another question come in, and it was, what do you like most about your field? And it's a two-part question, so we'll start with that first part. What do you like most about your field right now?
right now, I think it's the relationship with the residents. I had a resident come up to me the other day, and it was a couple days after she had gotten the second COVID vaccine. And she came up and she said, you know, I just don't have any energy. I'm not feeling well. I'm just kind of concerned. And I said, well, it's only been a few days. I think maybe that's what it is. Let's check your vitals. And her vitals were fine. They were within normal range. I said, you know what? Let's see how you do tomorrow. Give it one more night. And she went back. She stood up and she said, you know what? I feel better already just talking to you about it, knowing that you're here, knowing that someone is in the building who cares about what's happening to us. And then the next morning I went to check on her and she was fine. And she's so appreciative. And that's and plus working with this generation, the older people, that's how they are. They're just very kind and always very appreciative most of the time. You always have those people, but most of the time, yeah. So part two.
Part two of the question, what is the most difficult aspect to your job?
People die. And that's just nature. But to tell you the truth, it has also been one of the most rewarding experiences. And I know that probably sounds strange to the younger generation anyways, but when you're with someone while they're passing away, it's just a very peaceful experience, which does sound strange, but they're being there to be there with the family and to comfort the family, but also just being there to hold the resident's hand while they're passing. it sounds strange, but you know, that's why some people go into hospice care, because they understand that it's a part of life and it happens to everyone. Nobody gets out of it alive, right? So, and I have thought about going that direction into hospice. I'm evolving, everybody evolves, everybody, just don't be afraid to go whatever direction you want, and you know, just be more of you that you every day, just become a different person every day, follow your dreams. So
All right, our next question. Right now we have a group of middle school students with us who are soon going to be making their way into high school. What are some things, I know you mentioned earlier, taking science classes, math classes, because that's really going to help in that nursing field. What are some maybe clubs or volunteer opportunities they should look for while they're in high school that can help them prepare or decide if this is the right area they want to go?
well, there are a lot of volunteer opportunities. Once you start driving, I would start maybe volunteering for Meals on Wheels, or go to a nursing home and call a bingo game. You can go to the hospital, you can volunteer there. I know they used to have what they called the candy stripers. I don't know what they do these days, but one thing that I would recommend is there are schools, and I mentioned to Lindsay about this, there are schools in Michigan where in high school, if you go to your counselor and you say, look, I'd like to learn more about the nursing field, you can become a nursing assistant, a certified nursing assistant. Some schools, and if you ask your counselor if maybe your school could do it, they'll bring somebody in and you can take this class over this course of this semester. By the end of the semester, you have a certification as a nursing assistant. You get to learn how to take vitals, how to do a blood pressure, how to assess somebody's bowel sounds to see if they've pooped lately. And so that's just something that if you could do that, then while you're in college or over the summer while you're in high school, you can earn a really, really good wage. It's not super high, but it's more than McDonald's. And you learn so much. You learn so much. Plus, it'll help you decide what demographic you want to work with. Do you want to work with babies? Do you want to work with older people? Do you want to work with middle-aged people, younger people? So yeah, definitely do some volunteering. Nursing homes are always looking for kids, just to do anything to help out. So just get involved, definitely.
Awesome. So you mentioned possibly volunteering or taking this class while you're in high school. Do you have students that come and work at your facility and help you out? Is that something that you all have there?
We do here at my facility, we do. It's something that we do work with the high school here directly, and it's a new program. It's called work-based learning. And what they do is they, at the end of their day, they have to be able to drive. They'll come for their last period, and they'll come here for that hour and a half at the end of the day, and they learn, they do everything. They learn how to help transfer residents safely. They learn how to toilet residents. They learn how to dress a resident, because you can't dress everybody the same if they have weakness on one side, say they've had a stroke, all kinds of little things, but they get on the job learning too, and they're getting paid. So it doesn't happen everywhere, but that's just something that I just want to let you guys know again. If it's something you want to do, talk to your counselors about it, and they may be able to get that into your school. They just need to know that there's interest in it. because it really is a really cool program, and you get to do really cool things. So
Very cool. Thank you so much, Beth. We have some time for more questions. If you all have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this wrapped up now. I'm going to share my screen with you all with the with your QR code. Oh, we got 2 more questions that came in. I know you mentioned salary. What is the average salary for a nurse starting out? So you had a pretty good range, but what would you say is the average salary?
right now it's about 45,000.
Okay.
But that would be the very, very minimum. And it would go up quickly. If you go in and you have absolutely no experience and you're just right out of nursing school, because you're going to have to get in at the ground level. But yeah, it goes up really quick. And then usually it'll go probably, the average is about 65,000, to be honest. And then once you get into those specialties, that's when you start going up into the 80s. A nurse, anesthetist, it's a very hard word to say, but one of those people who are in the operating room, which is really cool, by the way. I got to do clinicals in an operating room, and I got to see a knee replacement, and it was really cool. You have to be okay with blood, obviously. But the person who puts the mask on and puts the person to sleep, that's that nurse. That nurse makes 120,000 a year. So it's a couple more years after the bachelor's, but way worth it, way worth it. So anything in the operating room, I think, is really cool. So if you can do that, it's fun stuff. So
Awesome. So you mentioned having to go back to school for certain certifications or specialties. Are there educational benefits? Like if you are working where you're at now and you wanted to go back and work towards more of a specialized field at your job, would they pay for that? Or is that something that you would have to do out of pocket? Could you give us a little more information about that?
it really depends on who you're working for. Most doctors' offices, say healthcare systems, which includes doctors' offices and hospitals, a huge benefit is education. They'll pay for continuing education, is what they call it. A lot of times what you do is you go to class, you pay for your classes, and they'll reimburse you. Sometimes they will just go ahead and pay for it up front. But usually you have to complete the class, get your grades, prove that you had a passing grade, and then they'll reimburse you for it. But yes, it's a huge benefit, a huge benefit. But
Awesome.
yeah, it's usually with those larger healthcare systems.
Okay, very neat. And then we have one final question that came in, and that is, you mentioned clinicals. So when they go to work on their bachelor's degree, how much of their time in school is in a classroom? And how much of that time that they're working on that bachelor's degree are they actually doing clinicals and out in the field with doing hands-on stuff?
What you start out with nursing is you're going to have to get your prerequisites finished. Sometimes I know a lot of schools also have the oh, help me out, Lindsay, when you go to college and you go to high school at the same time, dual enrollment.
Dual enrollment.
Thank you. If you do that and you can get some of those prerequisites out of the way, everybody has to have their English, everybody has to have their math, their computer science, their history, get all that out of the way. And then you can take your anatomy, you can take your physiology, and but you have to have those things taken first, and then you apply to nursing school. Once you get into nursing school, Then you will have, mainly your first semester is all bookwork, lecture. Then the next semester, they'll start throwing in the labs. And the labs will include, they have some cool stuff now where they have like robot people, and they're like really like normal people, and they talk to you and all that. But you can learn how to give shots, and we gave shots and oranges to learn how to give shots. But now they have regular, robots. But you can actually cut them open, and you can, do all kinds of surgical stuff with them. And that's in the lab. Once you get to your last semester, you start going to clinicals within a facility. When I was in the hospital, I got to go to pediatrics, which scared me because I was always afraid I was going to drop the baby. That's just me. Some people really like pediatrics. I loved surgery. So I got to go in. You stand at that side of the room. You don't talk. You don't get involved in the surgery, but you get to watch. And one of the doctors actually motioned me over and said, "Come over here and look at this." And he was taking a gallbladder out. So I got to see the laparoscopic version of surgery. And I got to see him go in and with this little twisty thing and cut out the gallbladder and suck it out, and really cool stuff. So, but yeah, that's towards the end. It's kind of like anything. You kind of have to work your way up and learn the basics, and then you really get into the fun stuff.
Awesome. I have a follow-up question. You've mentioned a couple of times, and this will be our last question, I promise. You've mentioned a couple times how cool surgery was and getting to go into the OR and watch. Why did you not go into a specialized field where you could be in the operating room?
I thought about that. I am turning 60. And so I have actually thought, I actually would. I really wanted to be a brain surgeon, but I also wanted to be a vet. So here I am trying to narrow it all down. Yes, I would love to do that, but I feel like, you have to have those really steady hands to go into surgery. I did think about being a surgical technician, but that's not as much money as nursing, even though you're in the operating room, but you could be a med-surg nurse. That's what I would do if I do decide to go back to school, then that's what I'm going to do. Yep.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Beth. We really enjoyed your talk today and getting to know all kinds of information about the nursing field, not just your specialty, but all the different areas of it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so that you all can go ahead and finish or take that evaluation, complete your evaluation. Beth, we really appreciated having you today. Thank you so much for your expertise and knowledge.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And we hope to hear from you and see you again. Bye.
Bye-bye.